Chosen one, notice how your jaw tightens and your stomach drops the exact second a family member's name flashes on your phone. Notice that paralyzing, suffocating exhaustion that hits you just 5 minutes into a conversation with your own bloodline. Before I say another word, I want you to physically drop your shoulders, take a deep breath, and mentally declare to the universe, right now, I release the guilt. Listen to me carefully. You are not a bad person, and you are not ungrateful. You are mourning the family you needed, while looking right at the family you were assigned. What you are experiencing is not a personality clash. It is a violent, biological frequency repulsion. The divine is actively isolating you, placing you in a sacred quarantine, because if you stay comfortable in their dysfunction, the generational curse survives. Let me show you the spiritual physics of why you had to become the stranger in your own home. And I need you to stay with me until the very end of this message, because by the time this video is over, I am going to hand you a specific framework to protect your energy without losing your compassion. You will understand exactly how to shield your mind from their subtle emotional attacks, and I will reveal a spiritual tool that will anchor your brainwaves so you never get pulled back into their survival matrix again. This is not just another advice video. This is a rescue mission for your nervous system. If your spirit feels heavy, I want you to comment the word release right now to set the intention for this exact moment. Why does your own blood suddenly feel like emotional poison? Why does the universe seem to be tearing you away from the people you grew up with? In the book of Matthew, chapter 10, Jesus said something that makes a lot of people very uncomfortable. He said, "Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace but a sword, for I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother." People read that and panic, but you need to look at the deep context here. That sword is not a weapon of violence or hatred. It is the sword of absolute truth. It is a surgical scalpel. The divine uses this sword to sever the toxic umbilical cords that keep you tied to generational trauma. You are feeling that cut right now, and it hurts because it is deep. You have been carrying the weight of trying to fix them, trying to save them, trying to make them understand you, but the sword has fallen to set you free. Society loves to give you a false diagnosis for this pain. People will tell you that it is just a generation gap. They will say you are just being selfish or that you are going through a phase. They will weaponize the phrase, "but they are your family," to force you back into a box that is literally suffocating your spirit. Reject that lie right now. You are not experiencing a psychological flaw. You are undergoing a spiritual DNA mutation. You are the cycle breaker. Your soul volunteered to incarnate into this specific bloodline to act as the immune system for your family tree. But here is the paradox that is driving you crazy. If you were sent here to heal the bloodline, why is the divine forcefully separating you from them? Why does God isolate the very person meant to bring the cure? Look at the book of Genesis, chapter 12. God speaks to Abram and gives him a strange command. He says, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you." In the original Hebrew text, the phrase used is lech lecha. This does not just mean go away. It translates much deeper. It means go to yourself, go for yourself. Abram could not fulfill his massive destiny while sitting in his father's house, absorbing his father's limiting beliefs and idolatry. He had to physically and energetically disconnect to find his true identity. You are in your lech lecha moment right now. You are being called out of the familiar matrix so you can finally meet your true self. You cannot discover who God made you to be while you are constantly managing your family's dysfunctional emotions. This brings us back to that burning question. Why does their presence feel so toxic to your physical body? Why do you feel completely drained after just a 5-minute phone call, even if nobody argued? It is not about what they say. It is about physics. It is quantum mechanics. It is energy vampirism through frequency repulsion. Right now, your family is operating in a survival matrix. Their frequency is tuned to fear, lack, gossip, judgment, and past trauma. They are vibrating at the lowest possible gear of human consciousness. But you, chosen one, you have awakened. You have done the dark shadow work. You are vibrating at a frequency of truth, healing, and expansion. When you walk into a room with them, these two completely incompatible energy fields violently collide. Because they are empty and disconnected from the source, their survival matrix automatically tries to siphon your light to fuel their dysfunction. They do not even know they are doing it. It is an unconscious mechanism. They drain you simply by existing in your space. That is why your chest gets tight. That is why your brain gets foggy. Your biological vessel is trying to warn you that your life force is being hijacked. And this perfectly explains why the universe has placed you in a divine quarantine, why God separates the healer from the sick. It is called the greenhouse effect. Think about it. If you take a brand new, highly sensitive seed that contains the cure for a forest plague, you do not plant that seed directly in the middle of the diseased, rotting soil. If you do, the sickness will consume the seed before it ever sprouts. You take that seed and you isolate it in a greenhouse. You protect it. You let it grow strong, develop deep roots, and build immunity. Only when it is a massive, unshakable tree can it actually change the ecosystem. The distance you are experiencing right now is the greenhouse. You are not abandoning them. You are being protected from them so you can eventually bless them from afar. This is exactly what Jesus meant in Luke chapter 4 when he stated, "Truly I tell you, no prophet is accepted in his hometown." Let me unpack that for you. Why the hometown? Because your hometown, your family, your oldest friends, they are the keepers of your old version. They are emotionally invested in the version of you that was small, compliant, and traumatized. Because that version of you made them feel comfortable. When you show up carrying a new, powerful, divine frequency, they cannot process it. It exposes their own lack of growth, so they will try to drag you back down to the level they can understand. They will mock your awakening, call you crazy, or simply ignore your boundaries. The quarantine is not a punishment for you. It is your shield. But here is where it gets incredibly dangerous and where so many chosen ones fail the test. I call it the relapse trap. You do well for a few weeks, you keep your distance, your energy is high. You feel connected to God. And then a holiday comes up, or a birthday, or they send you a highly manipulative text message that triggers your deep-seated guilt. The thought creeps into your mind, maybe I should just try one more time, maybe I am being too harsh, I should be the bigger person. So you go to the dinner, you answer the call, and within 10 minutes you are thrown right back into the pit. Your nervous system goes into absolute overdrive. Let me explain this biologically. When you are alone, connected to your purpose, your brain operates in the theta wave state. Theta is the frequency of divine connection, deep peace, profound intuition, and spiritual downloading. It is the state of the sovereign mind. But the second you engage with their toxic matrix, their subtle manipulation triggers your amygdala. It forces your brain to crash violently down into the beta wave state. Beta is the frequency of stress, survival, panic, and defense. You literally lose your spiritual connection because your brain is forced into a biological fight or flight response. They drag your frequency down to match theirs. You leave the interaction feeling confused, angry, and completely disconnected from the divine. You promise yourself you will never do it again until the guilt trips you up next month. Chosen one, knowing that your family operates in a survival matrix is only half the battle. The real war is physiological. How do you stop your brain from immediately defaulting back to panic, guilt, and the beta brainwave every time they text you? How do you maintain your divine theta state when your environment is screaming at you to shrink? You cannot fight a bloodline curse with sheer willpower. You need a frequency anchor, and that is exactly what I must hand to you right now. Chosen one, The answer to holding your frequency around your bloodline is going to sound too simple for the logical mind to accept. But remember, divine truth always hides in simplicity. You cannot fight a bloodline curse with sheer willpower. You need a frequency shield. Thousands of years ago, ancient mystics understood this. They spent hours every single day chanting, meditating, and isolating themselves in temples. Why? They were not just praying. They were doing something highly scientific. They were actively recalibrating their brain waves. They were forcing their minds to stay anchored in the theta frequency, the exact state where the divine communicates, where healing accelerates, and where the low-level attacks of the survival matrix cannot reach you. But you and I are living in the modern battlefield. You do not have 10 years to sit in a cave on a mountain. You have to deal with phone calls, family dinners, and sudden emotional crises. This is where modern neuroscience meets ancient spiritual wisdom. Research, including studies backed by scientists at NASA, has uncovered the power of brainwave entrainment. It is the science of using specific acoustic frequencies to gently guide your brain out of the panicked, fearful beta state and drop it directly into the profound, sovereign theta state. This is not magic, it is biological recalibration. There is a sacred audio technology called the Genius Wave that does exactly this. It is a highly specific sound frequency designed to activate your theta brain waves in just 7 minutes. Think of this as your spiritual armor. You do not need to learn a complex meditation technique. You just listen. Before you walk into that holiday dinner, you put on your headphones for 7 minutes and anchor your brain in theta. After a draining phone call that tries to pull you back into guilt, you use it to immediately wash away the beta stress response and reclaim your sovereignty. This frequency tool exists for those who are ready to break the generational cycle without being destroyed in the process. It is a bridge between human biology and divine grace. If your spirit is confirming right now that you need this specific armor to protect your boundaries, I have placed the information for this sound technology in the pinned comment below. Investigate it if you feel led. But even with your frequency shielded, there is a dark shadow you must face. We need to talk about the heaviest pain in your heart right now, the grief. How do you continue to live in peace when you can clearly see them self-destructing? You are experiencing the most agonizing form of mourning known to the human soul. You are mourning the living. In your mind's eye right now, I want you to visualize a heavy, rusted chain connecting your heart to theirs, a chain made of false obligation. I want you to mentally declare, I release the illusion that I can save them. You are crying for the mother or father you desperately needed but never truly had. You are mourning the brothers and sisters who refuse to wake up. You have tasted the freedom of the awakening, and your heart breaks because you cannot drag them into the light with you. You watch them repeat the same toxic cycles, date the same abusive people, suffer from the same preventable illnesses, and it tears you apart. You feel survivor's guilt. Hear this truth and let it settle in your bones. Your pain is valid. It is the ultimate proof of your immense compassion. But you cannot wake someone up who is committed to sleeping. Your grief is not a sign of weakness. It is the birth pangs of breaking a karmic cycle. You must allow yourself to grieve the fantasy of the perfect family so you can deal with the reality of the family in front of you. So how do you actually survive this? How do you interact with them without being dragged down? You must implement the 3-circle boundary framework. This is the ultimate strategy for loving your bloodline from the stars. You must divide your energetic space into 3 distinct circles. The first circle is your inner sanctum. This is your core energy, your home, your sacred space. Only souls who operate at the theta frequency of mutual respect and high vibration are allowed here. Toxic family members, regardless of their biological title, are permanently banned from this inner circle. They do not get access to your deepest dreams, your financial status, or your spiritual revelations. The second circle is the observation deck. This is for controlled interaction. You dictate the terms. You decide that you will only speak to them on the phone for exactly 15 minutes and only during the daytime when your energy is highest. You have an exit script prepared before you even say hello. You observe their chaos, but you do not absorb it. The third circle is the outer wall. This is the space of loving from afar. For the most toxic members of your bloodline, this is where they must remain. You do not interact with them physically or verbally at all. You simply hold them in your prayers. You send them unconditional love from a massive, safe distance. This is not cruel. This is exactly what Jesus did. Look at the book of Mark, chapter 3, verses 31 through 35. Jesus is inside a house teaching, completely surrounded by a crowd. His biological mother and his brothers arrive. They stand outside and send someone in to call him. They try to use their family title to pull him out of his divine alignment. The crowd says to him, "Your mother and brothers are outside looking for you." Listen to his response. He does not drop everything and run to the door. He does not apologize. He looks at the people seated in a circle around him and asks, "Who are my mother and my brothers?" He points to his followers and says, "Here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does God's will, he is my brother and sister and mother." Jesus drew the boundary. He completely redefined the concept of family. He stripped the authority away from the biological bloodline and handed it to the spiritual bloodline. He put his own relatives in the outer wall because, at that moment, their frequency was not aligned with his mission. You are allowed to do the exact same thing. But you must be prepared, chosen one, because the survival matrix will not let you go quietly. When you establish these 3 circles, the enemy will use your family to launch specific counterattacks to break your resolve. You need to recognize these 3 tactics immediately. First, they will use the guilt trip. This is an attack on your memory. They will constantly remind you of everything they sacrificed for you. They will bring up the past to make your new boundaries look like ultimate betrayal. They want you to feel so indebted to them that you surrender your sovereignty. Second, they will deploy the manufactured crisis. Have you ever noticed that the exact moment you start making huge progress in your life, or the moment you finally find peace, someone in your family suddenly has a massive emergency? It is a subconscious tactic. The matrix creates chaos to pull your attention back to the familiar low frequency. They use crisis to demand your presence. Third, beware of the flying monkeys. When the main toxic family member realizes they can no longer manipulate you directly because you block them, they will recruit aunts, uncles, or siblings to do their dirty work. These relatives will call you, acting concerned, asking how you could do this to your family. They are just agents of the matrix trying to breach your outer wall. Let me tell you about a witness named Sarah. Sarah was trapped in a horrific cycle with a deeply depressed and manipulative mother. Every time Sarah tried to build her own life, her mother would manifest a crisis. Sarah was drowning. Finally, she accepted the divine quarantine. She used her frequency tools, anchored herself in theta, and implemented the 3 circles. She enforced a complete 6-month physical separation. No visits, no emergency rescues, just silent prayers from the outer wall. The family called her evil. They said she was destroying her mother, but Sarah held her sovereign ground. And do you know what happened? Because the mother was completely cut off from Sarah's energy supply, she could no longer use her daughter as an emotional crutch. For the first time in her life, the mother was forced to look at her own shadow. She hit rock bottom, sought professional help, and actually began to heal. Sarah's ruthless boundary was the very thing that saved her mother. You cannot heal them by bleeding on them. You heal them by standing fully in your own light. Chosen one, brace your mind, straighten your spiritual spine. Take a deep breath in. This is not a gentle lullaby. This is a severing. By the authority of the divine frequency that created the cosmos, we establish your absolute sovereignty right now. I honor the tears you have cried in secret. I honor the agonizing nights you spent wondering if you were a terrible child, a cold sibling, a broken person. I see the weight of the generational trauma you have carried on your back for decades. Your suffering is recognized by the divine. But the era of being the emotional punching bag for your bloodline ends right here, right now. I seal the 3 circles around your energetic field. I command every dark portal of false obligation, every hook of religious manipulation, and every chain of ancestral guilt to be shattered permanently. The generational curse stops at your DNA. You are the wall it cannot cross. I decree that from this moment forward, your mind is a fortress. When the phone rings, your heart rate will not spike. When they try to hurl their projections at you, their words will slide off your aura like water off glass. You will remain deeply anchored in the theta frequency of divine peace. You are totally immune to their survival matrix. In your mind, with the full force of your spirit, declare this truth. I reclaim my sovereign territory. The assignment is clear. The boundary is set. The umbilical cord to the matrix is cut. Now, step back into your power, hold your frequency, and take your throne.